In Episode 8, Build Security Standards and Organization-Wide Awareness, we focus on creating unified guardrails and the human behaviors that keep those guardrails alive in everyday work. The goal is to move beyond scattered policies that nobody reads and ad hoc heroics from a few motivated individuals. Instead, you shape a system where standards, patterns, coaching, and incentives work together so that good security decisions are the easiest ones to make. When standards and awareness are aligned, people are not guessing what secure means. They are supported by clear expectations and familiar practices. That is when an organization moves from isolated controls to a recognizable security culture. The backbone of that culture is a set of concise security standards that map high-level requirements to implementable, testable controls. A standard should say, in plain language, what must be true for identities, data, infrastructure, or code to be considered acceptable. It should then point to specific control expectations that engineers, administrators, and product teams can actually execute, such as encryption requirements, logging fields, review steps, or access patterns. Testability matters because you want every statement to be something that can be checked through configuration, code inspection, or evidence in logs and reports. When standards are precise and practical, they stop feeling like legal documents and start behaving like reliable engineering references. Drafting these standards well means resisting the urge to cover every possible scenario in one place. Concise documents that clearly state scope, expectations, and references are more likely to be read and followed than sprawling handbooks. Each standard should have a visible owner, a version history, and a review rhythm so that people trust it is current and evolving along with technology and threats. Where deeper background is necessary, it can live in separate guidance notes or pattern catalogs that expand on the what and why without cluttering the core rule set. This separation keeps standards sharp while still supporting richer learning for those who want it. Alongside standards, technology profiles provide baseline configurations for the platforms and services your organization relies on most. A profile for a cloud environment, operating system, database, or messaging service defines what hardened enough looks like in that context. It translates general expectations about patching, logging, encryption, identity integration, and network exposure into concrete settings and templates. These baselines give teams a sensible starting point that is already aligned with policy, so they can focus their energy on business-specific choices rather than inventing controls from scratch. Over time, profiles become living assets that capture lessons learned from incidents, audits, and new capabilities. Reusable patterns and decision records extend this support by capturing how proven approaches have been applied in real projects. A pattern might explain how to implement secure file transfer between partners, or how to structure an internet-facing service behind gateways and identity providers. Decision records tell the story of why a particular approach was chosen, what trade-offs were considered, and which risks were accepted or mitigated. When these artifacts are published in accessible, searchable form, teams can borrow good solutions instead of rediscovering them under deadline pressure. For example, thinking and real practice, these patterns demonstrate that security is not a mystery, but a craft with recognizable building blocks. A champions network then brings these written assets into local team conversations, turning guidance into coaching. Champions are embedded in product teams, platform groups, or business units, and act as translators between central security perspectives and local constraints. They are the people colleagues approach with early questions about standards, patterns, and designs, which keeps issues from accumulating silently. Champions also provide feedback about where standards are unclear, burdensome, or misaligned with reality, helping central teams adjust rather than simply enforce. When supported with training, recognition, and a community of practice, champions become one of the most effective levers for sustainable change. Role-based training complements the champions model by ensuring people learn what matters most for the decisions they actually make. Instead of generic awareness slides for everyone, you tailor content for developers, product managers, operations staff, support teams, and executives. Developers see examples of secure coding, threat modeling, and pipeline controls that mirror their workflows. Product managers learn how to incorporate security into requirements, risk discussions, and release decisions. Operations and support staff see how incident signals, logs, and user reports feed into security processes. This alignment respects people's time and dramatically increases the chance that training translates into different choices on the job. Engaging awareness campaigns then keep security visible in small, frequent pulses rather than as a once-a-year event. Stories from incidents, near misses, or positive outcomes show how specific behaviors either prevented harm or allowed issues to escalate. Metrics, when used carefully, can illustrate trends such as reduced phishing click rates, faster patching, or improved review completion, making progress tangible. Short reinforcements, like weekly tips, short videos, or internal posts, can focus on one actionable behavior at a time instead of overwhelming people with theory. Over time, these campaigns help shift the narrative from fear or blame to shared responsibility and improvement. Leadership briefings play a distinct and vital role by translating technical risk into outcomes and strategic priorities that senior decision-makers care about. Executives need to understand how standards and awareness initiatives connect to resilience, regulatory posture, customer trust, and long-term cost. Clear narratives that link particular control improvements to reduced incident impact or smoother audits help leadership see security as an enabler rather than only a cost center. These briefings also provide a venue to secure sponsorship for champions, training, and tooling. When leaders speak consistently about security expectations and progress, the rest of the organization takes notice. Feedback loops turn standards and awareness work from a one-way broadcast into a genuine dialogue. Office hours give teams a predictable time to bring designs, questions, and frustrations to security practitioners without formality. Surveys can surface friction points, such as confusing requirements or tools that do not match real workflows. Experiment retrospectives, where teams reflect on pilots or process changes, provide deeper insight into what helped, what hindered, and what should be adjusted. These loops demonstrate that security is willing to listen and adapt, which increases trust and participation. Consequences and incentives must then be aligned so that following standards and engaging with awareness efforts feels both expected and worthwhile. Consequences do not need to be punitive. They can include additional scrutiny for teams that repeatedly bypassed agreed controls or fail to complete required training. Incentives can range from formal recognition and career growth for champions to simpler gestures like highlighting teams that handled a security challenge well. The key is consistency. People should see that the organization rewards responsible behavior and does not quietly tolerate habitual shortcuts that introduce unnecessary risk. Over time, this alignment shapes norms more powerfully than any slide deck. Celebrating wins publicly is an often overlooked but powerful element in normalizing desired practices. When a team successfully pilots a new standard, closes a long-standing gap, or handles an incident transparently and effectively, highlighting that story sends a message about what good looks like. Recognition can be as simple as a mention in an internal update, or as structured as an award in a quarterly meeting. These celebrations connect the abstract language of standards, enablement, feedback, incentives, measurement, and continuous improvement back to real people doing real work. They make it easier for peers to see themselves in the story and to believe that improvement is both possible and appreciated. The conclusion for Episode 8 brings everything back to a concrete next move. Select one standard to pilot and treat it as a focused experiment rather than a grand rewrite of everything at once. That standard might address a specific area such as logging, identity, secrets management, or cloud configurations, chosen for its relevance and achievable scope. The next action is to schedule a kickoff session with the teams involved, where you share intent, walk through expectations, invite concerns, and agree on how feedback will be gathered. With that commitment in place, your standards and awareness work moves from theory into lived experience. Each cycle you run strengthens both your exam perspective and your ability to shape security culture across an organization. Thanks for listening. For more audio courses, daily newsletters, and more, please visit BareMetalCyber.com.